for entertainment purposes only. And if you want true legal advice, contact your own lawyer.
Is a case out of Utah. This is, don't forget, a while back, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers Colorado, Wyoming, Utah. There was a case in Colorado where an ordinance for a city said that men can have their shirt off, but women can't, basically. And the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, this is a general overview, said that was unconstitutional and that is discriminatory to women not being able to take their top off. So ever since that, there's been these kind of test cases going out, and one is this Utah woman who was in her, and she's the one that knew about this, was in her garage putting up some drywall with her husband, and she decided it was hot and they're getting dirty, and the husband took his shirt off, she took her shirt off, and the issue here, the biggest issue is her stepchildren walk in.
She was, when Fred says she was getting dirty, they were physically dirty.
Metaphorically speaking.
Not in a metaphorical sense. There was actual dirt and grime.
They were doing construction.
Oh, how did you know that's what I meant?
Insulation and drywall.
No, I didn't mean that.
I'm just saying that's her claim.
Oh, that's what you're claiming. Oh,
well, that's her claim because
oh.
if she meant the other, then her goose is cooked. So yeah, she meant it was becoming a sanitary. Well, go on, Cal.
Yes. So next, as I was saying, so guess what? Little Joey, or I don't know the name of the kids, one's 9 and one's 13. They go home to. Oh, it's time to go over to the other mommy. I just saw a stepmommy topless.
I think real mommy came to pick up the kids and saw this. I think that's what happened.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know if they told her.
The kids told her.
No, I think the kids told her. My understanding
okay.
the kids told her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happens is obviously when there's a divorce situation, there's arguments all the time about the kids and what to do. Yeah. So what happens is she tells the police and they start prosecuting her, and she argues the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals issue, and she loses on that with this local judge. So the question is, what's going to happen here? They truly believe, at least her lawyer says, look, what does her lawyer say to her? What advice does he give her?
He gives her advice to plead
because
guilty to showing her breasts to her husband, because then she won't have to register as a child sex offender.
That was the issue, because if she's found guilty, she'll be a child sex offender. Now, here's the issue, and I know I want to come to you, Todd.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is people say, well, why can't she walk around? And it depends on how you spin this, because why can't she walk around her house topless with her husband, and it's her husband, like you said, the word husband. No, it's because there's children involved, and if there wasn't children involved, it may be a different story, and that's where it comes in, right, Todd?
And look, there's this thing called equal protection under the law, right? Which is everybody who is similarly situated needs to be treated the same way. So the question I have is, let's say when the kids are over at biological mother's house, are they saying that if bio mom gets out of the shower and any of the kids are there, that she would be in violation of the law if the kids saw her bare-chested? Because if the law is that is a violation of the law, all right, then I would say there's a high likelihood that nearly every parent is guilty, because every mother is guilty because that's happened. So what are you doing? Are you now drawing distinction between saying, well, bio moms can, but stepmoms can't, and that's where the equal protection issue comes in? I think this is ridiculous, but I want to point out that what she really got was diversion. Okay? Because under a diversion sentence, you plead, but you're not sentenced. That's what's being diverted, is the sentence. And on this, if she has no violations of law for 1 year, when she comes back, the case will be dropped. And that is what she got.
She's just like, look, I don't want to fight this.
Yeah,
because otherwise she's going to have to take it all the way.
Given the penalty, even if there was, let's say there was an 85% chance she would win at trial, but a 15% chance that she wouldn't.
And she would be put down
she would be put down. My question to you is, if you were walking along the side of a cliff and the drop was 1,000 feet to your death, but there was only a 15% chance that you would fall, would you still walk along the cliff? I wouldn't.
Yeah,
wouldn't
because
take
she,
that. I
because
would
she
go-
doesn't want to be a registered sex offender.
Ex-
That's the big issue.
Exactly. Why take that risk if after a year the whole thing's going
And
to be
Cal
dropped?
wants to comment about why he got
Her
arrested when he
lawyer
is.
encouraged her. He said, I was hoping that she would take this all the way through the appeal. He said, I was hoping she would do that. But she took the path of greater prudence to avoid the risk, as Todd pointed out. But he said he was hoping that. I think there was another issue.
She had to too, because think about this: if she's convicted of a crime and she's on a sex registry, what is that going to do to her stepchildren?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, virtually she will
Yeah.
not be able to have a relationship with her stepchildren. It perhaps could even end her
True.
marriage.
True.
And let's remember this, that the Constitution does not, criminal justice, criminal law, that does not mean and protect the innocent from being wrongfully convicted. All that is guaranteed is that you will have due process, okay? If this gets before a jury and they don't like it, they could have convicted.
Yeah.
So this was the best thing for her moving forward.
Here's the most important thing. This is not going to end here.
Nope.
We're going to see more of this coming up because of the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and there's going to be someone that's going to say, I'm going to take this all the way to the Supreme Court and go ahead and put me in jail. And it's going to be someone that's going to go topless out in the public and say, look, my husband's topless, I'm topless with him type of thing. I think this is not the end.
And I'll tell you what, the biological mom had better hope that none of those kids ever see her without her top on in the home, because that claim will be made, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and it'll be back on.
I think it's a great point, but I also think there's a critical issue in that argument that we should probably think about, and that is, does intent fall into this at all? I mean, if some child opens up the bathroom when mom's stepping out of the shower.
No, that's I agree.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
Would think that intent would have to enter into that, would it not?
It normally
No.
it would, and
No.
in other jurisdictions it does, in the sense that, for example, in the jurisdiction I practice in, indecent exposure is indecent exposure if it's done for the purpose of arousing either yourself or the person you're exposing yourself to. So there's an intent element here. In Utah,
Cats are involved. Cats.
no,
too?
it's got to be human.
Oh, okay.
So in Utah, though, the law read that it is such, if there are other people there that can view it as an affront.
Or affront or have alarm.
Alarm or affront. So
Yeah.
it's not viewed from the perspective of the person that was exposing themselves. It's viewed from the perspective
Let me
of the
tell you.
person who saw it.
Let me tell you right now, I've seen a lot of guys with their shirts off that's alarmed me too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm telling
No,
you.
the big one is guys wearing Speedos. That ought to be a
there's some
violation.
alarming stuff those men are wearing out there.
Yes.
I've been to water parks before, and it's like, oh my gosh, alarm bells going off left and right.
It was obviously the front. Oh, wait.
I don't
I'm
know
sorry.
what's going
It was
on.
too easy, but I had to go there. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm
So
sorry.
anyway, but
It's
we're
too
going to
easy.
follow.
You're saying it was a front
Well,
of the stepmother?
yeah. I mean, obviously, right?
Yeah,
So
it
of
was,
course
as
it was
opposed
a
to
front.
a back. of
Yes,
the stepmother.
exactly. That's
The
right.
jokes are getting worse the
Yeah,
third hour.
I just want
I'm
everybody
sorry.
to know I have contracted my bad joke duties out to Cal.
Thank
He's
you
picking
for
those up
today,
for me
yeah.
today.
I was going to tell you about a story that I grew up in the 60s. Don't forget, I was born in the 60s. And guess what? The 60s, Cal, you were around that time
Oh, yeah.
period.
Oh,
And
yeah.
oh my gosh, there's a lot of issues about not wearing clothes in the 60s. And I still remember my good friend, his mom had no problem traipsing around the house without clothes. I remember that. I will. It's ingrained in my mind.
I was born
Did
in
it cause you an affront or an alarm?
I don't remember that far back, but I'm not quite sure what it caused.
I was born in the 60s.
I
and
turned out okay.
Growing up in the 70s, I had a friend whose mom was the exact same way, and it was like, yeah, I gotta be careful when you stop by that house in the morning on your way to school.
I will never forget. Such and such, can you come play at my house? We're probably 6, 7 years old. He's like, hold on. He goes, and I follow him into the mom's room, and he walks right on in on her. He's like, hey, Mom. And she's like, what? And I'm like, oh, I better walk out. You know, it depends on the era, you know. And now I think it's going to come all the way back to the 60s, Cal. The 60s are coming
I think
back.
You're right. I think go look at the old pictures
Woodstock.
from Woodstock.
Everybody
There you
from
go.
Woodstock, it's going to happen again. Hey, we've got what in Nevada? What do we have in Nevada?
We got Burning Man.
Burning Man,
Oh, yeah.
Woodstock.
No,
We've got it all.
Coachella is the upper end one.
And
down in
how do
Southern
we
California.
how do we now balance that with the Me Too movement. I'm not quite sure, but
Right.
if it's talking about lawsuits, we're here, and it keeps us in business.
Go to the website, radiolawtalk.com. That's radiolawtalk.com.